From the get-go, I'd like to say that there's a lot of things that I did not like about this chapter. I know you guys are thinking like, what? Shin Megami X? Captain X? Like, you didn't like this chapter? But you know what? We're going to get into that right after the intro. So let's do this the proper way. Hello everybody, what's going on? It's your boy Shin Megami X, aka your Captain X, here today to review Bleach chapter 560, entitled Rages at Ringside. Alright, I'm not going to bother giving a recap of the chapter because as we know, technically I'm late with this chapter review, and you guys are probably wondering why am I late. Alright, the reason I'm late is quite simply because this chapter angered me when I first read it. I know you guys are thinking like, whoa, angered you? Like, in what sense do you mean? I'm going to get into that in a little moment, but basically, I don't like to do like negative reviews or like basically just talk negatively about anybody's work. That's just not how I roll. But so I read the chapter several times. I took a moment to cool down and just like try to look at it from a different standpoint, and then after all of that I couldn't come up with anything. I just called straight BS. So okay, from the get-go I'd like to say that this chapter is one of those chapters that you cannot take seriously. That being said, the character Master Masculine is one of those characters that you can't take seriously. He's like the Omega of the series for the Quincy's, so you can't take him seriously. But at the same sense, what angered me about this chapter is not the things that occurred, it's the way in which they occurred is the thing that angered me. Alright, as you all know, I don't give recaps. I don't give a recap of the chapter of like tell you what's going on, because you guys can quite evidently read it yourself. You guys aren't stupid. Nonetheless, let's get into why this chapter has annoyed me to a certain degree. Okay, I have no issue with Master Masculine dropping captains. I have no issue with Master Masculine sneaking up on people and dropping people and taking them out. I've got no issue with that whatsoever. I have no issue with the fact that is letter S. What it does annoy me is what his letter stands for, the superstar. Okay, I understand that he's a wrestler, and wrestlers they get like a loads of hype and stuff from the fans, because any wrestling fan would know that. I'm not a fan of wrestling. I stopped watch wrestling years ago, but even I understand that. That makes perfect sense. But it still takes away from the chapter, because I'm saying to myself, okay, fair enough, this guy's a wrestling guy. Cool. We all know wrestling's fake, but we all do know that if wrestling moves were to be done, like in a real environment, in a real fight, they would do a serious ton of damage. Like a drop kick would hurt somebody ridiculously, an elbow drop would hurt somebody ridiculously. That's why I'm saying I've got no issue with Master Masculine taking guys out. I've got no issue with that whatsoever. It makes perfect sense. But what does annoy me is that you have Captain Class Shinigami such as Shuhei, he's captain class at this moment, although he's a lieutenant. You have Kensei, who's a captain, and a visor too. You have Rose, who's there. No, is it Love or is it Rose? No, it's Love. Yeah, Love with a whip. He's there. He's a captain. He's a visor too. So okay, what I did like is that Kensei went Bankai straight away. He wasted no time. But then, okay, why did the motivator sound like the Elite Ace there? Why did the brother not holify? Do you understand what I'm talking about? I don't understand why he didn't holify. It makes no sense. You're in a war, battling for your life. Regardless whether the person looks ridiculous or not, you guys have not fought Quincy's before. You've never fought Quincy's. You read about them. You read that they shoot bow and arrows and they have all these different techniques, but they're not using them. So then, therefore, they're after your life. So does that not say that you should take matters seriously? And I do like the fact that Kensei went to Bankai straight away, but he should have went to Bankai and holified, because it's evident to see that Quincy's are weak against holos. When Kisuke Urahara gave everybody, well, all the Shimigami that had their Bankai stolen, that black pill, he made it quite clear that it's going to temporarily holify your Bankai, which means that for some reason Quincy's are incompatible with holo powers. So therefore, why, if you have holo powers dormant inside of you that give you a power boost, why not use them to defend yourself and defend the Serite that you are sworn to protect as a captain of the Gote 13? 2 captains of the Gote 13 at that. So that's one thing that annoyed me. Okay, like I said before, I've got no issue with Master Masculine dropping guys, but his power is retarded, his power is ridiculous. Okay, I've got no issue with the little guy James cheering him on, and I've got no issue with that little guy, contributing to the battle and somehow making Master Masculine more powerful. I've got no issue with that whatsoever. Like, okay, I would have personally preferred it if Kubo wrote it as a sense where, okay, when Shuhei said, okay, you got to take out the little guy first, I would have preferred it either two ways. One, the little guy is in fact the true threat, or two, whenever the big guy gets knocked out or knocked down, that the little guy would temporarily fuse with him for, like, I don't know, a period of time to make him incredibly more powerful. That would have made much more sense. Like, they literally fuse, kind of like on some Stark and Lineate kind of type stuff. They literally fuse together and become ridiculously more powerful. And then, I don't know, maybe then he's a lot faster, and if he hits you, it does a significant amount of damage. That would have been made perfect more sense to me, and I would have been completely fine with that. But the fact that he gets knocked the hell out, because as you all saw in chapter, Kensei, he was giving him them jabs, them nasty uppercuts, he dropped him. Like, the panel where Master Masculine was there, cradling over his stomach. Have you ever seen that panel in the Dragon Ball anime where Goku goes into Kaioken Trance for eating uppercuts Vegeta in the stomach in the same way, and Vegeta drops the same way? It was like that, and then he uppercutted him and blew him away. And if you look deeply in that panel, yeah, you see that Master Masculine, his stomach is covered in blood. So the damage that was done to him was a significant amount of damage. It didn't just, knock him 6. No, it almost blew a hole in him. So that being said, that's a significant amount of damage. So you should be extremely damaged by that, and you shouldn't be able to fight at full power from that now. So then the fact that this little kid, this little midget kid, is saying, get up, you're a superstar, get up. And then you get up, and then you're bigger now, suddenly, like on some Yami type stuff, and then you knock out 2 captains just like, well, doom. Fair enough, you're behind them, so you slightly got the jump on them, which is cool, I've got no issue with that. But I'm like, the fact that you get random power boost by, someone cheering your name, really? I can understand that boosting your morale and giving you the more determination to fight, but as for actually, physically making you stronger, that is BS. I don't care. And I'm going to refer to another point in the series where it kind of relates to this. When Ichigo fought Ukiura, Ichigo said to Ukiura that, you know what, I know you're stronger than me, but I'm not going to defeat you because I can, or because I think I'm stronger than you. I'm going to defeat you because I had to. And Ukiura quite evidently said nonsense and took him out. So we all know that Kubo doesn't go for bull crap like that. So why is it in this chapter that we're basically seeing a contradiction of the morals or the foundations that Kubo has set earlier in the series? So that's why I said in the beginning of this review that this chapter is one of those chapters that you can't take seriously. And when I say that, I mean that in the sense that, you can't use this chapter to estimate any of the Vizard's powers, or Shuhei, or Ikkaku, or Yumachika's powers. You can't use that to estimate how strong they are, because this character is quite evidently ridiculous. He's one of the Omaidas of the series, where this is quite evidently just done for fan service for those who support wrestling. So I don't take this chapter seriously, and therefore I don't like it. Okay, don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those guys that bash comedy in the anime or manga, because there is a place for it. But in the middle of a war, at a time like this is not the time and place for it. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Also, I've got no problems with a character being somewhat goofy, because as we all know, Oetsu is a goofy character, but at the end of the day, he done what he needed to get done, but it wasn't in a ridiculous fashion. Like, it wasn't, I'm gonna chant your name and so all of a sudden I'm twice as strong. What the hell? Really, what the hell? Like, even when it was Yami, like, his power was rage, and the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets, and which was somewhat realistic, because as you all know, as people in general, when you're angry, you're quite evidently stronger. Anyways, yeah, that's my thoughts about that. Okay, now let's talk about things I did like. I did like when Kensei stuck it on Master Masculine and started giving them nasty uppercuts. I did like how Shuhei, tried to use his Shikai to detain him. I did like the clothesline that Master Masculine gave Shuhei. I thought that was pretty cool. Like, what? Shuhei wrapped his chain around his ankle, he's picked up the chain, pulled it towards him on some Mortal Kombat type stuff, like, get over here, and clotheslined him. Lariat, straight dropped him. Cool. He's gonna stomp on his head. Cool. Fair enough, it was blocked by Kensei, who quite evidently looks badass in this chapter. But yeah, so those are my thoughts about it, really. That I didn't like this chapter for the reasons that I just explained. I thought his powers were ridiculous. I would have much preferred it if, fair enough, he got knocked the hell out, and then literally the little guy James fused with Master Masculine for him to become super stronger. That would have been perfectly cool. I would have rathered it if his powers would have stood for strength or something along those lines, rather than, I'm a superstar. What the hell? That's ridiculous, that's retarded, and to be honest with you, I say that's bad on Kubo's part, because it does contradict something that one of the foundations that he set earlier in the series, which I just explained when Ichigo fought Ukiura. Anyways, guys, that's enough for me rambling on. This review seems short because quite evidently this chapter was short. But you know what? I think I've rambled on enough. I've stated my negative points about the chapter that I didn't like and the reason I didn't like it. Also, yes, I know you guys are gonna say, oh, you just didn't like the chapter, Captain X, because you know, you didn't like the character. You're right. I don't like Master Demasculine's character. I don't like goofy characters. I didn't even like Omega. And I don't like Omega, and I don't like Oetsu Nimaya, the guy who created Zanpakuto. I don't like goofy characters. That's just me personally. Fair enough here, but like I said, when I give a chapter review, I don't give a chapter review based just because, oh, things didn't happen the way that I like, or things, or it had characters that I didn't like, because the times when it had Omega in the battle against BG9 and it was quite evidently being a chicken, I didn't dislike the chapter. I didn't like the character, I didn't like what happened, but I did say it was a good chapter because it did provide story progression and it was somewhat true to the story. But this is ridiculous. You have two captains who are visors. Okay, fair enough, this can be redeemed next chapter, and what I'm hoping happens next chapter is quite evidently Kensei or Love gets up and they're horrified. That's what I want to see, and then the battle can take place from there. That's what I want to see. If from that happens, I can brush this under the carpet and I can basically look at this and feel unscathed. And I was hoping that Renji would be the one to take him, because since quite evidently Master Demasculine gave him that nasty epic dropkick. See, and that's my thing. I do dislike him as a character, Master Demasculine as a character, but I don't have an issue with him being epically strong. I've got no issue with him having the power to take out a captain level visors. I've got no issue with that. But they should do it while they're at full power. It would make more sense for a start. And also, his powers are just ridiculous, which I've explained numerous times in this chapter review. Anyways, guys, I've rambled enough. It's your boy Shimigami X, aka Captain X. I'm signing out, and as always, my people, take care and peace.